Okay, can anyone tell me the difference between these two items? The difference is not noticeable because it is their DNA. While one of these has no altered DNA, the other is a mass-produced piece of produce that is made to repel bugs with just its DNA. A GMO is a genetically modified organism or an organism whose DNA is altered in the lab and can be anything from the produce you buy at your local market to the pet fish that are in your fish tank. Some may argue that genetically modified foods have no different effects on the body than foods without GMOs, but there has not been enough research to support or deny these claims. Basically, this makes the consumers of GMO products the research subjects. According to non-GMOproject.org, 80% of foods sold in America, including children's foods, are genetically modified. Some of the most popular foods, such as corn, soy, sugar, squash, and canola, are the biggest victims in getting their DNA altered. Some companies have sought out ways to avoid using GMOs in their products and label products as non-GMO. If the product you're purchasing is not labeled, more likely than not, you are buying a product with modified ingredients. Now let's talk about the cons of genetically modified foods. Geneticist David Suzuki argues on CollectiveEvolution.com that what biotechnology allows us to do is to switch genes from one to the other without regards to biological constraints. One of the most important cons about genetically modified foods is there has not been a sufficient amount of research to prove that they are not harmful to humans. According to naturalnews.com, when scientists experimented the effects of GMOs on rats, 50% of males and 70% of females that were fed genetically modified foods their whole lifespan have died prematurely, compared to the 30% of males and 20% of females in the control group. Rats that were exposed to even the smallest amounts of GMOs developed mammary tumors, as well as severe liver and kidney damage as early in the experiment as 4 months for males and 7 months for females. There have been other studies claiming that GMOs are linked to other health issues such as autism and cancer, but so far there hasn't been any conclusive evidence published. So now we will compare the pros of GMOs. There are many ways in creating and altering a crop to consider it genetically modified. For one, GMO crops were created to have a longer shelf life than those of unaltered DNA. This not only causes less waste in crops, but also leads to less money being spent on produce every day. Some crops have been altered to be able to withstand a drought so they don't die off. With technology and science, nutrients other than those the plant already contains can be added into it. Some genetically modified produce has built-in pesticides, which means the farmers can skip the often expensive and time-consuming pesticide sprays. Organic.lovetoknow.com even states that studies are being done with bananas to see if they can produce newer and safer vaccines against viruses, such as hepatitis B. Whether you are for or against GMO products, there are plenty of companies who are making the change and are labeling their products for consumers. If anyone tries to persuade you into thinking that GMOs are safe, just remember that there is no official evidence to support the claim. Next time you are at the store, make an informed decision about the product you are buying and look out for labeling. Well done.